Come on.
Everyone ready?
This is the SEC Insider Hit. Presented by your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local. Go with a home team.
Good morning. Welcome in on a Monday. We are the Out of Bounds Show. Our Ag Up Equipment text line is 601-885-3776, driven by your next John Deere tractor at any of the Ag Up Equipment dealerships. We are ESPN 1059 The Zone. Text line 601-885-3776. How are you listening and where are you listening from? Are you on the radio or are you streaming? And what town are you in? Ole Miss fans are on the text line. They are celebrating big Dak Prescott and the Cowboys' performance. And so we will talk about that among, the GOAT stepping down. And when we were on Friday, we did not have a head coach. Right?
Yeah.
And then Kalen DeBoer was named later that day.
Right, around 2 o'clock or so.
2 o'clock.
And
okay.
like you said, they're going to wait for us to get off the air.
Yeah. I'm going to text Greg Byrne and let him know that I'm upset with him on that.
Yeah, that's his fault. He fumbled it there. But, I mean, now a lot of hoopla around whether DeBoer is, going to get it going in year one. If, he said, the reporter asked him, what do you think about fans making judgments after 3 games? And he said, 3? I thought I only get 1. So he's
his first SEC game is Georgia.
Ooh.
His first SEC game is against Kirby Smart and the University of Georgia Bulldogs. Woo. Talking about woo.
Yeah.
All right. So we're ESPN 1059 The Zone. The SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your car and home and save with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. Go to favrates.com, F-A-V-E, favrates.com, and get a quote in 4 minutes or less. The Dallas Cowboys defense were averaging, giving up 18.5 points a game. They gave up 48 points. I don't know why, because I guess a football coach would have to tell me why that they played man all year and then decided to play zone in a playoff game. Did Greg Olson sound confused?
Yeah. I mean, it was baffling.
And so they got behind the 8 ball, and then Dak and the offense pressed, and then they didn't play well at all. And I don't know what it would have taken anyway. I guess a shootout to win it. And they weren't going to get that with the two 3-and-outs and 2 picks early. By then, it was 20-0, as y'all know. And then we went to 27-7.
Mm-hmm.
And you were thinking, well, if the Cowboys come out they get the ball and score a touchdown, they can make this a game. And then they kicked the field goal. And I think everybody thought, most people thought it was over anyway. But then they kicked the field goal. And what did Green Bay do? Kept moving the football.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting about Green Bay's wide receivers and tight ends is in the NFL, you're supposed to just be open by like a whisker.
Right.
Because of the league and how great these players and athletes are. And what happened? These guys were wide. It was like high schools that you see on Friday night when they win 48-6 and people are just wide open. Or college games when Bama plays Wofford.
Yeah.
We know that secondary is not going to be able to cover Alabama's receivers. Even Mississippi State and Ole Miss blow out G5 and lower teams all the time now, because of the athletes they're able to get on campus. How are they that wide open, and why did you play zone? What? Dan Quinn is a heck of a football coach. He's the defensive coordinator for Dallas. He's a smart guy. Why did they decide to play? And did you hear Greg Olson talk about on one of the third downs? He was like, why is the DB playing so far off? Green Bay just ran a little out route. It wasn't but like 3 or 4 yards. Guy was 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. I mean, again, I'm not a DB coach. What's the deal? What why change the defense? Were they great? No, but they had a good defense. Opportunistic.
Right.
There were some teams that exposed them, but for the most part, they were pretty good. Why play zone? Green Bay decides to take the ball an 8-minute possession to start the game.
Yeah, and you could tell. You're asking, why do you play zone? You could tell that the DBs were so confused.
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore couldn't find a shoot.
Well, what about Bland? Who had a super young guy who had a super year? They exposed him all day. He had a really good year, number 26. I don't know. I don't get that. I mean, that would be like being a 3-point, like going into March Madness and you played, I don't know, Jason, 38 games. And you're a pretty good seed, right? You're a 5 seed. And the whole year you've been about the 3 ball in efficiency and moving the ball and spacing around the perimeter. And in those 4 days going into the NCAA tournament March Madness game, your staff decides, guys, we're going to run everything through the post. Huh?
Yeah.
We're top 20 in 3-point shooting. No. Everything's going through the post. I don't want you to shoot from 3. I don't get it. Or like you played man all year in college basketball, and then in 4 days you're going to learn how to master the 2-3 zone or the 1-3-1, whichever one you want to do. I'm not saying you can't play some of it, but you're not going to rely on that totally. I don't get it. And if Mike McCarthy loses his job, by the way, I don't want Bill Belichick. As a Dallas fan and a Dak fan, I don't want Bill Belichick. Now, Mike Vrabel, I'm in. Jim Harbaugh, I'm in. Do you think McCarthy could lose his job? I do. See, I think Jerry's almost 80. He's wasted 29 seasons, as they were talking about last night. What has been the constant the last 29 years, Jason?
The Cowboys not making the, conference champion, or I guess division championship.
Well, no, they've been to the division because Dak's been there.
NFC championship.
Yeah, NFC championship games, and maybe Romo made it. I don't remember. But the constant's been Jerry Jones as the owner. And so why would you go Bill Belichick? To me, Mike Vrabel would be a much better hire, or Jim Harbaugh, or any number of people than Bill Belichick. Not that I don't recognize Belichick's genius and how good he is, but I'm not sure that's what you want. And I don't know if you can bring Mike McCarthy back. And that's crazy to say because he's won big. And they won a playoff game on the road last year against a good team in Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. But I don't know if you can bring McCarthy back. And Dan Quinn, was he in line to get a job? Seahawks or other in that 48 spot? I don't know. He may be able to overcome that. But I still would ask the question why you went from, running man all year to running zone. Maybe somebody can help us. We've got a lot of football savants on the text line.
Of course.
The Ag Up Equipment text line is 601-885-3776. Twitter X at Bo Bounds, brought to you by Stella Artois, which is our NFL beer for the playoffs, among others. And, did you say what did you say about Brew Day?
Oh, yeah. It's Brew.
Tell me about it.
It's Brew Monday. So, obviously, there's a lot of people home from work.
Yeah, they're going to start drinking it like noon.
Probably now.
Okay.
Maybe get started with the Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary and then work your way into Stella.
We would rather them wait till about 11 a.m. or noon.
Okay.
So, yeah. All right. So, banking's off today. School is off. Federal and state government. I may be missing somebody. Go ahead about Brew Day.
Yeah. So, it's basically, there's one thing called Blue Monday where, you're staying home from work. It's cold. And then you have to, you're shut inside.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all sad.
Right.
Instead, it's Brew Monday. So, crack a beer, forget about being at work, hang out, have fun. So that's what this show's all about.
Celebrate Dallas's demise.
Yeah. I mean, if you're one of the many people on our text line,
we've got Ole Miss people left and right that are just bathing in this. I mean, we talk about petty Twitter, petty text line.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, Brew. So, Key City Brewery.
Yes.
You can enjoy a local beer from Vicksburg. You can find it all over the Jackson metro area. Key City beer is delicious. Your favorite is Death on Two Legs? Or is it
Death on Two Legs is my favorite just because I love a good hearty IPA. And then the Red Irish Ale, the O'Hanrahan's Curse.
O'Hanrahan reminds me of Fletch. I don't think I'm not sure he says O'Hanrahan because, he makes up all these names in the movie. Chevy Chase.
Oh, yes.
And it's so funny.
Yeah.
I had to go back and look at some of the names that he dropped throughout the movie. Oh, I know he charges the prime rib sandwiches on the Underhills bill because he hears them at the table beside him. He's at the country. Have you watched Fletch?
I have, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't want this to be your last day.
Whoa. No,
I need you till at least March Madness.
There's some movies that there's no reason that I should have seen it before, but that one is one that I should have seen. But you've been on me recently about the movies that I haven't
there was
seen.
such a run of great movies really good to great movies in the 80s. Like the fashion, what people, I mean, I was younger, but especially when you're in high school, I mean, what people wore was tough, okay? It was a bad fashion decade all the way around. And down here, we were still trying to get where we need to go. I mean, there was a lot of hairspray and big hair and, bad looking jeans and blouses and shirts and whatever.
Right.
But we had great movies. Fletch, St. Elmo's Fire, all the ones that we've talked about. Have you watched Risky Business with Tom Cruise?
I have not seen Risky Business.
I'm disappointed in you.
Or what's it called? Cocktail? Haven't seen that one either.
Why?
Yeah, I don't
It's great.
just haven't seen it.
Is it Elizabeth Shue that's in it? Yeah. Obviously, Tom Cruise is in it. I can't remember the guy's name who owns the bar. He's got like an O'Callahan name, an Irish name.
Oh,
Like you said,
okay.
it takes me back to Key City in the O'Hanrahan.
Yeah.
So it's Brew Day. What else? What other days do we have? Hat Day.
It's Hat Day.
Well, I'll put on a hat during the next break.
Or maybe one of the helmets.
Oh, you want me to wear the Patron helmet during a segment?
I do need that from you. Maybe not an interview, but that would be funny.
It really would be. All right, I'll do it. We have at 8:30. We have Brad Edwards, who went to the University of Alabama, spent 25 years at ESPN, and he's going to talk Saban with us at 8:30. At 9:30, we got Bar 2 on all these coaches moving around. DeBoer to Alabama, Jed Fish, who Mississippi State played, Arizona and Starkville, right?
Yeah.
Jed Fish to Washington. And then we've got some more movement within the transfer portal. That's going to start to close here until May. Right? So, and then it'll open back in, but guys can't transfer within conference in the second one or the third one, whichever one you want to call it, but when it opens back up in May. So, but you can go conference to conference in G5, to P5 type deal.
Yeah, I was wondering where, because I saw that Will Rogers has re-entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, I don't know where Will's going to end up. I wish him the best. I don't know. I don't know. Milroe jumped into the transfer portal. What'd you think about that?
Well, I saw that that's not technically a done deal, that somebody posted and that was a fake account. So there was some stuff.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some stuff that's saying he's not in the transfer portal. So you never know what's real nowadays.
Well, so I didn't realize that. Milroe is not going to fit what DeBoer wants to do, I don't think.
Yeah.
Now, they've got two dudes behind him, plus Simpson, that, it may work out. The guy from Georgia, they're high on, the new guy from California, they're high on. Could this actually fit Ty Simpson? I don't know. But I can tell you this, DeBoer and Grubb will figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
And Grubb didn't get the job, so he's coming with him as offensive coordinator. But DeBoer leads the way, not that Grubb's not talented, but DeBoer's been running at a high level since winning 3 NAIA championships and going 67-3 at Sioux Falls, South Dakota years ago. And then one big at Fresno State, one big at Washington. I think he's going to be fine. I don't think that they'll finish 1 or 2 in recruiting every year. They may land a class like that. So I think the way that Saban had it going, he was number 1 or number 2 every year, just depending once Kirby got there. But I think DeBoer can finish like 1, 3, 6, or 9. Okay. And so your composite is like 4, Jason, and you're still fine. This is going to throw people off, but actually, Nick Saban said this to Mal Moore when they were flying from Miami to Tuscaloosa 17 plus years ago, when Mal Moore finally was able to hire him from the Miami Dolphins. And Mal said, well, I hired the best coach in the country. And he said, no, you hired the best recruiter. So I think everybody needs to stay with me here when I say this. I think DeBoer is going to be a better coach in that he's a freak. He's not going to be a better recruiter than Saban, but coaching matters. At Bama, they're going to get players either way. If they can finish composite around 5, you can compete. I think DeBoer is an absolute freak on the offensive side of the football. I think Grubb is good, the offensive coordinator. But DeBoer's been doing this for a long time. Sometimes we trip on a savant every now and then. Dabo did it a different way. To me, DeBoer's the new, in the 2000s, we had Saban and Urban. We were introduced to Saban and Urban Meyer, and they became iconic legends, even though Urban will never have the runway and all the years that Saban had because he's a burnout guy. But it takes all, whether it's 5-star bands or whatever. They some of them give us greatness for 5 years, 7 years. Some of them give us greatness for, like the Rolling Stones, for whatever they're on, 50. Okay. Yeah. But the bottom line is greatness is greatness. 1% is 1%. We're all pretty obsessed with how it all happens and plays out. Kalen DeBoer is a freak. I do. I believe he is an absolute freak. And that's not good for the league. Greg Byrne knew what he wanted to do. I've always said this about Greg Byrne. He is a ready, shoot, aim guy. And he is a big believer, and I don't know if he got this. I think he got it more from his dad, but maybe a little bit from Barnhart at Kentucky. Greg just believes that you have to expedite your coaching search, period, end of discussion. And, and I agree. I mean, there's some that go out there and need to interview, 27 coaches and talk to them for hours and hours. Obviously, Byrne had DeBoer in his sights and got the deal done. And I think DeBoer will be really good. Is he going to be Nick Saban? He's not. Over 10 years, can he win 2 championships? Which is still amazing, by the way, Jason. We compare everybody to Jordan and Saban, right? And Belichick. If he goes to the playoffs 5 times, wins 2 titles, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay? That's amazing. And I think they'll be much more refined and better on offense than they were the last 2 years, right? They were trying to figure it out post-Sark. All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about I have some thoughts on the way that Nick Saban handled this, all right, and the way that some other people handle their retirement. So I've talked about this over the years. We've been around a lot of coaches in social settings and intimate places and rooms and a beverage or dinners and so on. And what do? You observe them while you're around them, right? And how they operate and their personality and how they interact with other people, whether it's a small setting or a little bit larger group, just depends. It's better to get them in a group with, 2 to 6 people, I think, right? Where maybe it'll be a setting in which they'll let their guard down and really kind of show you who they are. What impressed me about what Nick Saban did last week is he didn't make it about Nick Saban. Mike Krzyzewski made it about Mike Krzyzewski because he announced that he was retiring before the year, so it was a big production for 42 games.
Yeah, like a farewell tour.
Yeah. If you ever thought Nick Saban got it, look at how he retired. Nick Saban made it about Alabama and his players. Quick press conference. Thank you. Then started calling players and parents to recruit to try to keep the roster intact while Byrne was trying to make this hire in 72 hours. Calling parents, talking to players, retention. They weren't going to keep everybody. Some have decided to leave. That's fine. Give Saban credit, Jason. In a profession with little to no self-awareness, Saban the GOAT made it about Alabama and his players. And in the article, and I'm sure, Jason, I've read a bunch of them, and there have been so many good ones on The Athletic and ESPN and other sites over the weekend. But Kennington Smith III, hello, sounds like an attorney down the street here, at a big law firm. But Kennington Smith III has an article on The Athletic this morning on their college football page. And the one thing that jumped out at me in the article, and this is what made Saban so special, was his goal. And his goal was simple. Help players create more value for their future and be more successful in life because they were part of the Alabama football program. And that's what he did. And he didn't make it about himself. He literally announced his retirement without some kind of hoopla and fanfare and going all the way around the SEC and the state of Alabama and it being a big deal at SEC media days and so on. And in the article, he talks about how when he was trying to hire new coaches and he was talking to players and parents, they kept asking for a 3-year to 4-year commitment. And he said, I couldn't give them that. Think about that. The GOAT, the greatest to ever do it, may not ever be done like this again over a 17-year period with this many championships and this many first-round picks and this many playoff appearances and so on, and this many number one recruiting classes. But he finally stepped back and he said, I can give them year to year, but that's not what they want. But he didn't make it about himself. It wasn't some long farewell tour. I think that's what makes Saban special too. And I don't think, believe it or not, even with the shadow that he cast and the success that he's had, and even trumping Paul Bear Bryant, which we never thought could happen, I don't believe that Saban's going to pull a Philip Fulmer at Tennessee or a Lloyd Carr at Michigan and disrupt the new coach. Do I think he's going to be around a little bit? He's very busy with all his, automobile dealership empire. And his foundation has been amazing in the impact that they've had on kids. And he's got grandkids and he's going to play some golf and he's going to do some broadcasts. That's a lot right there, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Even at 7, I mean, that's still filling up the calendar. He doesn't have to go 7 to 7. He doesn't have to work all during the weekends, but he's going to stay busy. He's going to be very engaged. He's going to use his mind and his body. He's taking care of himself. But Jason, I thought he handled it as well as you can handle it, especially considering his stature and the fact that he's an icon in the world, well, in Alabama, in the SEC, and in the world of college football.
The honesty.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Transparency.
That's one thing you don't really get much in this sport is transparency and honesty.
Well, those were my thoughts there on the GOAT, Nick Saban. Kalen DeBoer is the new head football coach for the University of Alabama. Ole Miss and Mississippi State will not play him this year, but you will next year. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're driven by your next Ford F-150 truck, pre-owned or new. Mack Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. Great selection of Ford F-150 trucks at Mack Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. The text line, want to say good morning, welcome in. Give us a shout out, 601-885-3776. How are you listening? Where are you listening from? Brad Edwards at 8:30.